Hey, what's going on? It's been a while since I live streamed, and I was like, I should try to get in the habit of live streaming just to get back into it. But it's like, it's kind of weird. Like, if you don't do it for a while, then you lose the momentum to do it. And I was kind of waiting for a good reason to live stream, but it's interesting, right? When you're not really plugged into the matrix like you were, it's gets a little harder to just generate pointless jabber. And I'm gonna tell you what I mean. Um, I've been spending a lot of time watching YouTube, right? Like I don't really watch regular TV anymore because I told myself I'm tired of content. When I did that Media Massacre show, that show it was kind of good. You know what it was like? You ever like see or experience like your mom catches you smoking when you're a kid? So your mom makes you say, "Oh, you think you're grown? You want to smoke cigarettes? You think you're grown? Well, smoke this whole pack." And then, people tell stories about my mom made me finish a cigarette and smoke the whole pack. And it was so disgusting. I never smoked again. I think, in a way, the Media Masochist call-in show kind of did that for me with content. Like binging all those shows and modern content. I think, I was killing myself with death by a thousand paper cuts the way I was consuming content before. And just consuming that much new content, I think, cured my need to watch any new TV. Like just seeing the same tropes over and over again, the same dumb stuff. And it's like I see new stuff coming out and I'm like, I can so tell what this is. So like the new Indiana Jones movie was coming out. Hey, how's it how's it going, Snoopy Boobs? How's it going, Where Pilgrim, Outlaw, David Gonzalez? How you feeling? Yeah, so um like the new Indiana Jones movie, I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, Harrison Ford is old. That happened in Force Awakens. He's playing an old version of an old character. He's now like divorced, like Han Solo, Indiana Jones. He now has found a white woman with a British accent, um, who's like the new young version of him and is like good at everything. Okay. Um, she's the one who's kind of schooling him and dragging him along and re-inspiring him, and he's just kind of a loser now and is just waiting to die. And I was like, they do the same movie over, like all they do now, right? All they do now is uh I'm gonna tell you, I don't mind drug dealing shows with black leads. I just want a good show. I don't like that's not what I'm talking about. Like when I say the same show over and over again, like the Power Cinematic Universe, for example, is nothing but drug dealing shows with black leads for the most part. But they deliver solid entertainment, even the bad ones. Like even if it's throw your stuff at the screen entertainment, because you're like, oh my god, Tariq, really? But no, I'm talking about this other stuff that I don't think anybody likes. Um, like, okay, the guy that was the woman that was behind the creation of the Indiana Jones thing is Kathleen Kennedy. And she was the same one behind Force Awakens, which was, um the last time Harrison Ford is playing an old version of a character of himself that's now a loser. The sequel to that had Luke Skywalker. He's old and a loser, being lectured by a young girl. The director of the new Indiana Jones is James Mangold, right? James Mangold was the director of Logan, a movie a lot of people liked. I thought was very mid. I think it's not a great movie. I think Logan is a movie, right? Where what a lot of people do now is you take a movie that would be extremely mid or derivative if you made it a quote unquote grown up movie, then you put it in a superhero world And then now this half talent, this middle of the road kind of talent, now gets praised for doing something very deep and groundbreaking because now it's being judged by the standard of a kids movie. So it's like Logan, if you compare it to all the movies that it takes from, like Shane, Unforgiven, um, No Country for Old Men, all these better grown up movies, it's just a really mid movie, you know? But because it's like, oh my God, you took a superhero action figure and got depth out of him. And it's like, no, it's just a mid movie. Like, I'd rather see a really well done superhero movie than superhero movies being used to upsell and to upmarket immature adult movies, you know? And the same thing with Joker. Like, Joker is an extremely mid movie to me. It's just a middle of the road Martin Scorsese movie. And if you watch King of Comedy, if you watch David Fincher's Fight Club, which I think is another movie it takes from, if you watch Taxi Driver, they're all way better, but you know, by making a baby version of it with Batman has totally incoherent politics. Doesn't really have anything to say. Joker has nothing coherent to say. Joker is like a it's ironic. It's ironic the movie's about someone's mental state and psychiatric hospitals because I think the movie itself is a huge Rorschach test. Any politics or statements that movie has are an accident that comes from the stuff it's cribbing from, not anything inherent to Todd Phillips. I don't think the Hangover guy has a deep thought about anything. It's just that he was mishmashing and ripping off movies with deep thoughts. And because he was taking elements from movies with deep thoughts, it has the trappings and form of something with deep thoughts. So people kind of see deep thoughts into it. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that like they're terrible movies. They're just mid movies. Like, you know, they're entertaining. You can watch them. I'm not saying like they're like total trash. But they're like mid movies. But anyway, Mangold was the guy behind Logan. I think it's a horribly overrated movie. But that was another movie about let's take a character that was beloved young, and we're gonna have an old version of him running around with a young girl. At least she was a young British Mary Sue, but basically the new generation, young female version of himself. That one wasn't British. So whatever. But still, I'm like, why did these people keep making the same movie? And at least with Logan, people like that one, so I can say they keep going back to it. But the next 12 that you made have all flopped. Where you bring back the old character, but as a beaten up husk of their former self, just running around getting outclassed and whatever. And Logan had two because you had to watch Professor X be old and pathetic and die uh ignominiously in a seedy motel. Like, I don't think this appeal of just watching the last hurrah of everything just be old, crippled, and depressed. And I think the fact that a lot of Gen Xers make these movies has something to do with it because us Gen Xers are approaching middle age, and I don't think we're gonna age well. I think we have a very stunted development, and we don't know how to age, and we're scared to death. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm gonna tell you this: have you ever read Harrison Ford's actual thoughts on aging? Right, and he talks about aging the way a lot of boomers and older to me talk about aging, right? Um Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so Let me find it. Mm, I wasn't planning to talk about it. I just remembered it on the spot, so I wish I. Let's see, Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. Getting older. I think getting older will pull up the. Okay, here we go. I think this is. I think this is it. Let me pull it up real quick. Someone said spoilers, but I don't think I gave away any spoilers. At least not for Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny. I think everything I mentioned is what you can see in the trailer. I think pretty much people know that he's older in it and he's kind of beat up. You know. Huh. Okay, this is a video version. I don't want the video version. I want. Uh, okay, I can see it. The only link I found to it is Fox News. So for people who get weird whenever you link to Fox, it's not a political article. Don't worry about the fact this is Fox News. It's just the only place I could find this quote. No generation ages well, but I think we're aging especially bad. And I think millennials are going to be even worse off. Also, I gotta be better at this. I'm suck at it, but watching other YouTubers do this, I realize I gotta do it better. Please hit the super chats. Please hit the likes. Uh, let us know you're up in here. How many people? You have 43 people, so let's try to get 43 likes up in here. And I'm gonna do this new thing where I'm putting up comments from the people who give super chats and give them shout outs. Yeah, watching other people live stream, I realize, wow, I really am not doing it the proper YouTube way. I got to start harassing you guys for likes more. That's what you gotta do. How long have we been talking? 12 minutes. I should have harassed you guys for likes like 15 times by now. I'm slipping. I'm not even slipping. I was never even there. Yeah. So GM, thanks for the $5 super chat. Appreciate it. And yeah, it's my new catchphrase, which is everyone else's catchphrase on YouTube. Let's get the likes up. We got 42 people live. We should have 42 likes. No, not creating a Threads account. It would defeat the purpose of me leaving Twitter to go on Threads. Um, and I'm gonna talk about that. You know, um, oh yeah, you know what? I think Zoomers. Someone said I'm thinking about what Zoomers might become my dread. You know what I think about with Zoomers? I think Gen X and even worse millennials will be so bad they might actually end up becoming a cautionary tale for Zoomers. That's the one thing I think. That's the one good thing I think might happen. Um, don't stop the stream until the likes are up. No, I got to graduate to that level. Like I can't reach that level of hustler yet. But- I know some people do too. I like when they hold the stream hostage. It's like I'm not gonna keep talking. I'm gonna shut down the stream if that's Alexa up. I'm gonna uh I saw one woman, she shuts down the functionality of the live, so you can't actually rewind and restart it until she hits a certain amount of. She actually extorted it for money, like unless I get like $50. Yeah, it started holding. That was funny. I'm not gonna get to that level, but yeah, please hit the likes and hit the super chats. Give us support. Uh, yeah, on the bottom are all the different ways to financially support. Hey, Dee, thanks. Appreciate you. Thanks for the $10 super chat. Yeah. No, Gen X and millennials are already a cautionary tale for Zoomers, but it's just a matter if they see them as a cautionary tale. Just because they should be a cautionary tale. Some people see a cautionary tale and they see inspirational story. So I'm hoping if what you're saying is Gen X already see, are you saying Zoomers already see Gen X and millennials as a cautionary tale? Then that's gives me hope. That's good news. Maybe that's what you're saying. If that's what you're saying, then that's good news, and I hope so. Um, yeah. Whew. So, yeah, but doing that show, Media Masochist, it was kind of good for me because getting that concentrated dose of new content, and I had not been watching a lot of this stuff, and seeing binging so many shows close together, you start seeing the patterns and stuff. I was like, I just don't care. I don't want to see any of this stuff, really. You know, um, the flip side of it is it was our most popular content. Like people say they hate this stuff, but it's the closest thing I noticed we have to a common culture. Like people might say, "Oh, I hate this stuff. I hate these Marvel movies, or I hate these IP movies. I hate these Pixar movies, these Disney movies. I hate these blockbusters, these Star Wars shows." But when you do them, it's the one type of thing that everybody kind of watches outside of like the most recent thing was maybe Game of Thrones, you know? When you try to do the more artistic stuff, like I would try to do loftier topics on Media Masochist and no one would show up. Even though people said like they wanted it. Everybody has a different kind of highbrow or artsy show that they like. And there's a little like enclaves or whatever. But the crap is the our lowest common. We don't really have broad appeal good stuff. You know what I mean? Like before, you used to have movies and shows that were like highbrow or good, but also had broad appeal, you know? And I don't think you have that anymore. You have stuff that everybody watches, but it's bad derivative crap, or you have stuff that is good, but it's all too siloed. It's all too atomized. You know what I mean? Um So was The Witcher season 3 wasn't that good. I don't think any of it was good. Once out of first season, I was like, I am good on this show. Yeah, we need Ken and Mario on the stream. Send them the link. Actually, I will plan on link with the thing with them soon. This is mostly just to get back into the flow of things. Yeah, but the I was looking at this uh the Indiana Jones thing, and a lot of people are watching it and telling me, "Oh, it's okay," but I'm like, you know what? Okay is not enough for me to justify watching this movie. But I want to show something real quick, right? So he put this up. He said this: Harrison Ford loves being old despite challenges. I don't want to be young again. And he says, "I don't want to be young again." He plainly told People Magazine in a new interview, "I was young, and now I enjoy being old." You are certainly physically diminished by age, he explained, but there are wonderful things about age. Richness of experience, the full weight of all the time you've been spending getting to being old, and there's a certain ease in it for me. Um, and he said, I'm very grateful that I still have opportunities that I have to work, and I owe that to the audience, right? So I'm like, okay, if the real Harrison Ford can approach aging like this, right? And he has this feeling about aging, why can't he be allowed to bring that attitude to the Indiana Jones character? Why does the movie version of Harrison Ford, um, hey, yeah, sorry about the White Lotus episodes. The reason I never finished the White Lotus episodes was a couple of reasons, right? Um, First, like not a lot of people seem to be into it. Like when I did the follow up episode, like two people showed up, like literally, and I had to cancel it. And then but then we lost the contract with Colin, so it became too much work to do for free. So I ended up not doing it because when you do that show, it's not just the hours you spend doing the actual show, but all the hours you have to do to watch TV to see a certain episode, right? So yeah, that's what happened. But thanks for the super chat, Drew Thomas. And yeah, if you give a super chat, we'll read your comments. So please keep that in mind. Yeah. But okay. I think that would have been a much better thing to see an old Indiana Jones. And see, one of the problems is, right, and I said this on the podcast before, we've killed the idea of an elder. There's no such thing as an elder anymore, because the only thing, and I think millennials did this the most, but Gen X complied with it because they enjoyed the fact that it absolved them of any responsibility to, because Gen X was happy to abdicate the elder role and just be the cool uncle or the friend parent. You know what I mean? The cool parent, the uncle parent, the aunt parent. So millennials normalize the idea that the old have nothing to teach you but how to be racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, and be a dinosaur, and give us your money. So it's like, shut up and give us your money, shut up and give us your platform. So that's the only thing an old person can do. Step aside and die and give us your money and your platforms and let us lecture you about how to be better people. Like, there's not anything you can actually learn from an older person in the minds of a lot of millennials and younger. And what can an older person teach you? They can't teach you how, like, and it goes across races too. Like when you see these new blacks, these young black people, these social justice type black people they find online, these what we used to call legacy blue checks, but that's an outdated term now. I don't know what the better word to call them is, right? But what did they say about old people? They say stuff like they talk about the ancestors a lot, but it's just a bunch of bull. Because what they really say is they put on t-shirts that say we are not our ancestors. You will catch these hands, which is very disrespectful. Because all I ever see y'all do is whenever you get in trouble, you record it with your camera phone and just like, wow, oh, it's like that, and then you put it on Twitter and say, Twitter, do your thing. Like I never see y'all give anybody hands, you know. Um, but yeah, to them, this is all the ancestors did. The ancestors didn't do all the stuff that allows you to have the charmed, pointless existence you have now. Uh, allowing you to be this ingrate that you are. No, all they did was just get their ass kicked. White and male ancestors basically um, didn't do anything but oppress people, or didn't have anything good to teach you. The black ancestors can't teach you anything except how to get your ass kicked. The white women can only teach you how to be transphobic. Like there's nothing, there's no attitude. I can learn something from older people, right? And Gen X people are, to me, very afraid of um becoming their parents, and they want to be cool parents. They want to, and they also don't want the responsibility. They see what their parents went through, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do all that. I don't want to have that hard life that you had, even though the parents' life were easier in a lot of the other ways, but they want to have a more of a fun life. So the Gen X people lean into it. Gen X people were like, "Yeah, you're right, man. Older people do suck." Like Gen X people are happy to give that responsibility to younger people. Like, take a look at this and you'll notice it. Any Gen X person that is still active, as far as being a public face, like media, writers, actors, comedians, all the Gen X people have managed to stay relevant by pandering to millennials. No, there's very few Gen Xers. Like, you may not like Dave Chappelle. You may not like, you know, Chris Rock or those white comedians like Nick DiPaolo who talk about cancel culture all day and are reactionary. You might say, oh, these people have, the comedy hasn't aged well or whatever. But the one thing I'll give them, they're willing to be elders. Like, they're willing to go out and say, get off my lawn. The way you new people do things, sucks. Even if you don't like their comedy or you think they're like bigoted or whatever, there is this kind of sense that um I'm meant to be older and telling you what to do, whether you listen or not. And sometimes they make very necessary points, even if something sometimes a lot of times what they say might be regressive and bigoted by today's standards. They will say some things that I think need to be said that you cannot say in this kind of woke climate. But the Gen Xers who are working and in good standing with the mainstream, you can only be that by playing ball with the modern discourse. So it's like if you look at people who used to be kind of edgy back in the day, or pride themselves in being politically incorrect. You look at Chelsea Handler, you look at Jimmy Kimmel, even Howard Stern, um, Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer. They're all sounding like millennials now. They're talking about privilege and allyship and whatever, and it's like, okay, for the female comedians, you guys came up being just female chauvinist pigs, racist jokes. You were trying to outguy the guys. You were trying to be more patriarchal and offensive and gross. You're trying to burp louder than the guys, be more sexist than the guys, be bigger sluts than the guys. And now, to stay relevant, you guys are throwing white men under the bus and trying to act like you're Tumblr kids, or and Gen Xers now are just all like, yeah, please teach us, young ones. I believe the children are the future. Should teaching well and let them lead the way. They're already just and it's fake flattery because really they just don't want the responsibility. Gen X is and so millennials think they're too good to listen to an elder about anything. The only thing an elder should do is, hey, give me your privilege, give me your platform, put me on, give me your money when you die, do whatever. And the Gen X people are like, hey, I'm fine giving you some platform if it'll keep me, relevant. So say someone like Damon Lindelof. He came out with the Watchmen show. He's the head writer of Watchmen. He assembles a writing team. He assembles a writing team just full of younger Gen X and full of millennials and younger, and they're like different genders, different races, and they're filling it up with woke millennial discourse. And when Damon Lindelof is giving interviews about why Watchmen is good and everything, he says it not in terms of, hey, I was the elder statesman in the writing room and I was dictating how things should go, and these are my politics and these are my things. He was soliciting praise for how good a job he did at listening. It's like, yeah, I realized my way of doing things outdated. It was important to have marginalized voices and millennials, and these Gen Xers, they stay in the mix, not by leading and not by sticking to their guns or being whatever. They realize, wait a minute, wokeness, millennialness, social media, social justice aspects. That's what's hot. I'm gonna be that, and plus, it saves me from any type of moral responsibility, right? Um. So, um, what happens? What happens is that you know, he's talking about how well he's listening to the writers under him, and how well, and maybe he's not really. Maybe it's a lie. Maybe in the writing room he's a tyrant, whatever. But the fact that he feels the need to do that, he has to demonstrate, he has to performatively show that he's willing to bend the knee to the millennial mindset, the millennial woke mindset. I think is very um telling. What are the likes at? I can't see, but are the likes up? I should have the screen up so I can look at the likes and see. But yeah, and it's kind of funny because yeah, it came out recently that Lost had a terribly toxic environment based on the articles that was shown. But I think that is a perfect example of what we're talking about, because I feel like a lot of these Gen Xers, part of the reason why they feel like they have to overcompensate so much as far as bending these millennial wokeness is because they know they have a lot of skeletons in their closet from when they were trying to be edgy for clout, you know. So like Sarah Silverman knows people are waiting to pull out that blackface picture of her all the time. Um, you know, and he probably knows that, hey, this thing is out there. People are gonna hit me with this. Like he knows all these stories about what a white broy boys club he made lost into or out there. So that's the only reason why I see in his interest to reinvent himself. Same with Sarah Silverman and all these other people. Like, if you see her anti-Asian stuff that she did, that comes to bite her now. So that's another reason why I think it's in these people's interest, these Gen Xers, to really kind of overcompensate and do this kind of penance. Yeah, so it's pretty. So anyway, going back to the Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones, right? We've seen how an old Indiana Jones could work. The reason why we saw it is because we saw it right in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Sean Connery's character. Sean Connery had to be probably late 60s, maybe in the 70s when he did Last Crusade. And Indiana Jones' dad just wasn't some doddering old, depressed, oh God, I'm old, I'm gonna die type of guy. He was a great engaging character. He wasn't a sad sack. Like, people used to have an idea because he was the elder, because he was created in an era where people still believed in elders, you know? So his character was an elder. His character wasn't, we don't have elders anymore. Jason Black from the Black Authority, I think, coined this phrase, but he said, we don't have elders, we just have olds. You could have made Harrison Ford into an elder. He could have been a mentor and an elder to Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character that she looked up to and wanted to emulate, and whatever. He didn't have to be a sad sack that she had to give the pep talk to. Like, one thing that happens with all these old people and these things, whether it's Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Logan, or Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, and this one, is that the old person can't do anything to help the young person. Like Luke Skywalker, Yoda could teach Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker couldn't teach Rey. Luke Skywalker could just sit there and sit on his ass, and Rey had to teach herself without his help, because he was just checked out being a loser and realizing that everything he believed is wrong. And she had to teach him and re-inspire him to realize what was great, instead of and it was with Luke Skywalker and Yoda was different, because Yoda taught Luke Skywalker stuff as an elder, but it didn't say that young people couldn't teach old people stuff. It was a mutual exchange, because if you remember, Yoda was telling Luke Skywalker, "You've got to kill Darth Vader," and Luke Skywalker very much believed there was another way, that there was good in him, that he could be saved. And it turned out that he was right. He believed that there was good that could be salvaged in his father when no one else saw it. And it was like there was something there that had an exchange between the old and the young. Yoda was older, so he had more wisdom and more experience, but his being older gave him a blind spot, and he had his kind of stuck in his old ways, in his ideas about good and evil. Luke Skywalker didn't have the experience. He was young, and he wasn't able to just, hey, I'm young, but I can do everything better than you already. He jumped the gun in the second movie and ran to fight Darth Vader against, like, people's wishes, and he got his ass handed to him. And he got his hand handed to him. They cut off his hand. He had to go back with his tail between his legs. And he realized, okay, I have to go back and get more training. I have to be patient. So he had what he had to learn, but he also had something to teach to the benefits of his youth, you know? And they don't have that anymore. The old person can't do anything for you except give you the platform. In this case, the movies. All Indiana Jones can do is give Phoebe Waller-Bridge his franchise. All Luke Skywalker can do is give her the lightsaber and the last name, and give her the lead status in the franchise. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of annoyed me about looking at this Last Crusade. I mean, this Dial of Destiny descriptions that I heard. Right? If you look at it, if you look at it, um, if you look at it, you if Harrison Ford had more say in this movie, based on how he feels about aging, but you had Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, the original guys, directing and conceiving it and producing it. Picture those three old guys made the fifth Indiana Jones movie with no input from Kathleen Kennedy and her kind of progressive feminist ways. Because Kathleen Kennedy, I think, is one of those olders who tries to pander to the youngers. Everything under her reign has been so millennialized. Even though she's older, she's someone who doesn't seem to want to be an elder. She is probably somebody who was out of place in her age. She was a proto millennial. Some older people are actually proto millennials. They had that kind of millennial disdain and mindset and feeling before millennials of their generation were born, and they were kind of outcast and alone. And it's almost like they were waiting for millennials to show up, and now that millennials have shown up, that's another thing. Some of these people pander, but they don't sincerely believe it. But some of these people, I think, are actually proto millennials. They were in the millennial mindset before millennials even were born, and um, millennials are kind of an extension of kind of like how Iggy Pop was proto punk. He was punk before there was punk, and you know when the punk generation came up, he actually had a built-in audience and a second career of these people who were taking the sound that he made and making it into a genre. Like he actually thrived better in the punk days than he did when he was new. Because when he was new, everybody was in acid rock and yacht rock and stuff. I think that's another brand of older person, the proto millennial who's now coming into their own. You know, they didn't actually fit in well in their day, right? Like I feel like if George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, and Harrison Ford, as three older people who are very pleased with their legacies and what they accomplished and whatever, were to make this last Indiana Jones, I would have been interested in seeing it. You know, you know what, you know what I mean, right? Um, but now because they're not doing it anymore, you have Kathleen Kennedy and a Gen Xer behind it, and I think the attitude that Indiana Jones is having is a Gen X person's attitude toward getting older and fearing death and not being able to hang out and get microbrews all night, and um fear about getting old, and they don't have a blueprint for how to be old anymore. And when you're not an elder, then being old just means nothing but being closer to death. That's all being older means if you're not an elder. Like if you're an elder, getting older means gaining a new value to replace the lost physical value. So that's why even when they do have older people do something good in these movies, they just try to make the old person be um physical. Like you can only judge the old person by how good they can do young person stuff. So from the clips I've seen in the new Indiana Jones movie, they're trying to have him ride horses and do all this action. But if you looked at what Sean Connery's uh, was doing as Indiana Jones' dad, he wasn't doing all this crazy action stuff like Indiana Jones. he was contributing in an old person way. He was giving the benefit of his wisdom, and doing stuff like making the birds fly into the um plane and everything, and those type of things. He was useful, but he had to be useful in the old person way. And you see the same thing. Like, I didn't see the new Flash movie, but in the Flash movie, they have Michael Keaton come back as Batman. From what I understand, Michael Keaton's an old hermit, and he's depressed, and he has no purpose, and his life sucks. You know, um, he's just there, bummed out, and then he gets goaded back into action. And when they have him come back into action, if you look at Batman Beyond, old Batman, his physical abilities were gone, but he could still mentor the young Batman. The young Batman had to do the physical stuff. But when you look at the Flash, old Batman shaves and gets back into the suit. And I saw clips from the trailer, and this guy's bouncing around like a rubber ball. He's bouncing around better than he actually was able to do in the Young Burton movie. That was CGI, 70-year-old Batman, just jumping out of planes and bouncing off of people and doing like spinning kicks and everything. Like, they couldn't think of an age appropriate way for him to be useful, you know? Um, yeah, so it's just yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I think I would have been interested in the movie. They shouldn't have had a Gen X person direct it. They shouldn't have any young people involved in it. They should have had three old guys, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, and Harrison Ford, finish off. And I think they would have given the movie a way better perspective. Even if they put even if they put like even if they put a young heir to the throne, hopefully not Shia LaBeouf, because I don't agree with casting Shia LaBeouf in anything. Uh he could have given the benefit of his wisdom without having to be a horse riding action hero, you know? Um yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's just something that annoys me. But yeah, we're at 42 minutes. I'm trying not to go super super long anymore. Unless I really have a reason to. So yeah, Kathleen Kennedy is still responsible for the Ray movie. But Ice on Info said, I'm going to be controversial here and say stop making superhero movies, but I don't think superhero movies are the problem. I think these people just suck. So even if you have them stop doing superhero movies, whatever they make is still gonna suck. Like, just stop giving these writers work. Like, I think superhero movies could still be good with good writers. Like, I think the superhero burnout, if there was good writers, good, but they make too damn much of them. So of course you're gonna run out of things to say. They're gonna get derivative. Like, there shouldn't be this many. But also the people you have writing them, you're getting people from Rick and Morty and just adult Robot Chicken and bad comics. Like, when you get the people who wrote Marvel Phase 1 movies, whether you like them or not, they were experienced older people with talent. Like, the one big difference with Gen X and millennials, I'll say, is that even with millennials, even with Gen X's worst habits in politics, there was a baseline talent there as far as being entertaining. Like, for example, I don't like a lot of Joss Whedon's soy banter and a lot of his trappings and tropes, but he can baseline tell a story. I was in the laundromat the other day and Avengers came on, and I got sucked into the first Avengers again watching it. I was like, wow, this actually kind of holds up. You can watch the movie without hearing the sound and follow what's going on and get engaged. Like, some things don't age well, like the CGI doesn't. Captain America's costume looks awful, but he has a baseline level of talent. I think there's a certain amount of baseline talent that a lot of Gen Xers have. Same with J.J. Abrams. Same with Damon Lindelof. Even if I don't really like their overall stuff, and I think it can be hacky in some ways. Like, you can make it seasons into Lost before you realize there's nothing there. As opposed to these new millennial stuff where from the first episode, the first 5 minutes, you're just cringing. Like everyone's talking like with this bad, cutesy online Twitter speak, you know? Um yeah, it's I don't know what this is revolution is, but I mean, tell them to invite me. Whoever they are, write them and say because I don't it's not the kind of thing I can't just go myself and say, "Hey guys, I should be on your podcast." I mean, I'll check it out and listen to them. One bad thing about not having Twitter anymore is the one good thing about Twitter. It was great for reaching out to guests and other podcasters, and now it's like different. You got to find people's emails or whatever, and also a lot of people don't really respond to emails the way they do social media. People kind of are naturally on social media by default all day long, and then when the messages come in, they just respond. Email now has become like a chore. You know what I mean? Oh, Pascal Robert. Yeah, I like Pascal Robert. He's a great thinker. I like him. Yeah, he's a good writer too. Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you guys want to put me on his radar as fans or whatever, I always think that goes further than as a person telling someone, "Hey, you should have me on." I'd also reach out to have him on because I do like his writing and I would like to actually have him on as a guest. Yeah, but I mean, it's basically yeah, we're at like 45 minutes, and I don't want to go much further than that. But yeah, hope everyone's good. Last call for likes. Last call for giving us any financial support. It's always appreciated. Goes back into being invested in the show. And I'll be honest, the more the more likes, the more super chats, whatever, it does help us incentivize to do this more often because it's way easier to do this more often when there's actual uh follows and likes and shares. So definitely at the very least, likes are free and sharing is free. So get people to follow the show and like the show and get people to like the show. Because all that is incentive to do it more often, because otherwise it's way more tempting to just focus on other things like working on the podcast, which because that right now is the best bang for the buck as far as the effort I put into making content. Thanks for the super chat, CS. And yeah, take care. Everyone have a good one. And gonna try to do these more often, but shorter instead of doing one for like 3 hours and then disappearing for months. So yeah, take care, y'all. Be good.